on the 21st of June, got our speakers back, on the 21st of June cast a shadow over the adjoining property and those outdoor spaces and setback areas along the northern side of the dwellings on the southern property. So that the dividing fence already shadows.
Working. Okay, so what you're saying is regardless of your building, of the actual dwelling being up, it still is casting that shadow?
Just the fence is casting a shadow,
Yep.
that is correct, and the building itself, we've kept the height down, it's compliant with height and it's compliant with setback from the southern boundary. So.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you very much. Can you just give us an approximate land area of the floor area of, say, one of the apartments?
I don't have the plan in front of me, but they're all around that.
I can't see them. I can't see them.
Yeah. I haven't memorised all of them, but they would be around that 70 square metres.
70 square
yes,
metres.
something
Thank
like
you.
that. So,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Thank you very much, Mr. Famiano.
Thank you very much, Tal.
I would like to let everyone know that now I think the mic at the public gallery works. Is this correct? And also the live stream working again. So I would like to apologize to those who hear us now at home. We did have some IT issues that now have been fixed. So we are moving on with the deputations, and we are now with 11.1. Councillor Ellie Peterson-Peake, Deputy Mayor, myself, potential lead acquisition for parking in Maylands. We have Rebecca Hall. And Councillor Leder, I think you have a conflict of interest.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Hall, and I own Maylands Wellness Centre, and I'm a member of the Maylands Business Association. So today I'm here speaking on behalf of the Maylands Business Association. This motion was brought last month, so I don't want to repeat what we sort of already said last month in the deputation, but I do just want to reiterate a few points and make a couple of other points. So the motion has unanimous support from the businesses in Maylands Town Centre. Obviously, we want to, as a town centre, we want to continue to attract not only locals but also to people coming from further afield. And obviously, the majority of those people are driving a car. We understand that future planning moves towards a reduction of people driving a car and want to increase and encourage the use of public transport. Unfortunately, we're not there yet, and certainly people living in Perth are not open to that change at the moment. I looked at a study or a report that had been done by Main Roads, which was the Community Perceptions Congestion Report in 2022, and only 25% of people said they would change their mode of transport to carpooling, cycling or public transport to help ease traffic. So certainly there's a low number of people in Perth who've actually considering sort of, using alternative methods other than cars. So there's still a large number of people who want to use a car to get in and around Perth. I'm not agreeing with that. I'm just stating that that's where people of Perth are actually at in their mindset. So we do still really need to make sure we're allocating space for parking for those people. Obviously until, there's a bit of a mindset change in our community. And obviously we need that parking for the community and businesses, and we know that there's been the parking reports done, but businesses on Watley Crescent and 8th Avenue regularly have customers comment on the availability of parking, and I looked at the last, just before I came in, I looked at the last car parking survey, which was done in February 2016, which was actually 8 years ago. And while it demonstrated an average of 36% occupancy, it actually covered a large area, which was from Central Avenue to Caledonian Avenue, and that would block either side of Whalray Parade till Guildford Road. So that's actually quite a large area, which is actually larger than the actual town centre that it's allocated for. So I think the 36% occupancy is actually not around that specific town centre. It didn't actually detail the difference between the town centre specifically. It actually sort of looked at that slightly broader area, which I think that then sort of skewed the figures that were provided. I think also since then, that's 8 years ago, since then a number of venues have opened up, such as Lyric Lane and Seasonal Brewery. So I think again, that's also to place demand on car parking. Where else am I? So the other thing too is that there will be the loss of bays available in Maylands, particularly with the development of the Lyric apartments, which are on 8th Avenue. There's a car park next to the Lyric theatre building, which will go, and I think that's 27 car bays. Also too, whilst that development is happening, there's the car bays that are behind Seasonal, another 10 bays, which that will also to restrict access to that. At the moment, it's got the full thoroughfare between 8th and 7th Ave, but it'll actually only have access through 7th Ave, so that will also to just, diminish that accessibility of it. And obviously there's further development plans of loss of further car bays with the transport plan that's been looked at as well. So there is going to, I guess, be further loss of car bays, and that's what we're concerned about. I obviously to understand that there's additional budget required for the purchase and then also to the construction and maintenance. We don't feel it's an unreasonable expense given the number of businesses who've paid the payment in lieu of parking fee. So we've contributed to that towards parking. So I guess we'd like, that's something that we feel is reasonable for it to contribute to. Also too, in the future when the parking needs decrease, there's an opportunity because the city owns that lot as well as the adjacent lot where there is parking, and also to the community theatre is all owned by the city. So there's obviously opportunity for development in the future. So that's, I guess, a good investment for the city.
Sorry, Ms. Hall, if you can just conclude, because
Yes.
we're almost...
Perfect.
Thank you.
I'm nearly there. Our last point is that we are concerned that of that parking that the city does own, which is next to the community theatre, if it is developed, that the boundary line will be quite close to that car park, and already that car park actually doesn't allow enough room for manoeuvring. And in fact, the fence that was there has been damaged over the years. So that's also to a concern that we actually may then lose more bays if that is sold elsewhere and developed. We then will have less parking. So look, I really thank you, Sue, for your time. If you've got any questions, please reach out to myself or any other members of the MBA. Thanks.
Thank you for your deputation. Any councillor would like to ask any questions? No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
No, because we do have another deputy who submitted, from what I understand, a late deputation request. Bill Busby, it's still on the same item. Please.
Thank you, councillors and Deputy Mayor. My name is Bill Busby, of 50 years plus living and working in the Maylands area, and well aware of all the bits and pieces that's been happening in Caledonian Avenue, 9th Avenue, 8th Avenue, Watley Crescent. We've got a very active group in the Business Association, a lot of clever people contributing positively to the area in bits and pieces. I believe the council officers have also supported this suggestion of the purchase of this land for parking. It's become a very popular area after it's been run down for many years. The streets have been divided by the closure of Caledonian Avenue with the railway, so that's sort of split into two sides. We've got almost City of Stirling on that side and City of Bayswater on this side. I think with all the communications that's been going and the road closures at both ends of the street in Watley Crescent, 9th Avenue, 8th Avenue, it's a really vibrant place on a Saturday morning. As a business servicing some of those areas, it's sometimes almost impossible. We're an emergency business that sometimes we've got to get to these places quickly when they've got a blockage or burst pipe or whatever, and there's people parking there. It's very difficult. So at the end of the day, I can't see why it's not supported in full by all members of the council, because it's such a vibrant area. It's come out of a lot of mischief over the years and bits and pieces. There's been petty crime, you name it. I mean, I go back to when Leo's Pizza was a dress shop. It goes back a long time, but at the end of the day, there's some really good people have been in that area. We've had some good councillors, representatives, and the City of Bayswater, I think, has done better than the City of Stirling, and long may that continue. I'm just amazed at some of the councillors, Josh Everson, Asinta, Michelle Sutherland, Stephen. I'm just surprised they can't support it. Congratulations, Sally Palmer, on being elected. Well done to you. But I really think that the Maylands Business Association are working hard and in conjunction with the various councillors, staff, main roads, you name it, to make it better. And the people, the businesses in Maylands are very honest, very sincere and very committed. So I'd like to see some improvement from the City of Bayswater in supporting this in its entirety, because I think it's well worth it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Busby. Any councillors have any questions? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will call Councillor Leder back. Thank you. And this was the last in-person deputation that we are having tonight. Councillors, we also received 10 written deputations. One with regards to item 10.3.1 and 3 deputations with regards to 10.3.2. All of those are with regards to the low-cost urban road safety program. We also received 6 deputations regarding item 10.4.1, which is the petition for Battersea Reserve Morley, and those have been provided to councillors and are also available on the city's website, and I will take those as read. We will now move to the questions from councillors part of the meeting. Councillors, we will start with the items that were subject to deputations. The first one is item 10.3.1, low-cost urban road safety program update on treatment plans. I'm just looking at the conflict of interest. I think that's fine. Any questions?
Sorry, Acting Mayor, do I need to leave the room?
I think you on
Conscious
the...
it might overlap depending on the nature of the questioning, but I did for 10.3.2 because that is the decision-making that relates to the geographic area where my house is, but it depends on that if people have questions that...
Do you need to declare a proximity for 10.3.1 as well?
I don't believe I do,
Okay.
but I
Okay.
did seek advice from the city on that earlier.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Yes. So first 10.3.1. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Any questions about this item? Yes, Councillor Leder.
We heard tonight from a resident about who said there was low engagement rates for the LCARES. I just wondered if someone from the city could talk about that engagement process and how the rates compare to other engagement
Sorry,
processes.
Councillor. Yes.
Sorry, Councillor Latter, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to conflict myself out because I think it's just going to end up overlapping.
You do find that you have a proximity interest on
No. So I definitely have a proximity interest for 10.3.2, but the nature of the
But the
question,
question-
will interact with both. Like I received the surveys and things in my house, so
But I guess that question can be just with regards to 10.3.1 at this stage. If it will be asked at the next item, we will...
if the answer is confined to it, yeah, it's just hard to pull it apart,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
So maybe officers maybe be mindful that the next item we have a conflict of interest. We'll just focus on 10.3.1, and the question was about the engagement process?
Correct. Yeah, what was the engagement process for it, and how the engagement rates compare to previous similar engagement?
Thank you. With regards to 10.3.1, I will go to the manager or the acting director.
Thank you. Through the chair, if I may, my understanding in terms of the consultation that has been undertaken for this particular item was similar to the previous one where a letter drop has been undertaken. The city officers have engaged an independent distributor independent company to distribute all the letter to all those precinct areas. And that company, in terms of the distributors themselves, they are GPS tracked. So we have got data that provides.
I'm sorry, Acting Director, yes.
Acting Mayor, sorry, I am going to declare a proximity interest for 10.3.1 based on the map as well on page 338. So I'll leave the room. Thank you. My
Okay,
apologies.
so we'll
everyone.
wait, that's okay. We'll wait until you leave the room. And we can note that conflict of interest. I'm assuming it's proximity. Thank you, we'll go back to you.
Yep, no worries. So I was saying the distributors, all distributors within that company have got GPS trackers, and we have got confirmation from the personnel that they have walked through all the roads within those precincts. So that's the evidence that we have. That's.
Can I
Any other
ask a
questions?
follow-up?
Yeah.
So letter drops happened to every property on the precinct map.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Is there any explanation for why people within the precinct area would not have received a letter, as has been claimed?
Through the chair, that is, I'm not too sure with that one. I might, through the chair, if I may refer that question to our manager of project services, who was in charge of that project. But my understanding is that we have got records of the personnel in that company that have walked through and have done the distribution to every property. So.
Okay.
So you refer the question to the manager?
Yes,
Do you
sorry.
want us to wait? Okay.
If John can elaborate a bit more on that one.
Thank you. I guess if I can refer you to page 339 in the report as well, it provides some more numbers in relation to the number of properties that were surveyed is 8,000. The number of visits to the Engage Bayswater page was 3,300, so that suggests a lot of the material was received. 600 pins dropped. In relation to why people may not have received the envelopes were clearly marked with the City of Bayswater logo and were clearly marked as community engagement. Whether those envelopes, because they were dropped by a commercial distributor, were sort of included within other material and perhaps perceived as junk mail and not seen as a stamped envelope coming through the door. Again, it is just a presumption or an assumption that may be logical.
That's it. Councillor Meleka.
So that was a question I had as well. So are the envelopes addressed mail or is it just generic? So, yeah.
Generic, but marked with the City of Bayswater logo and marked clearly community engagement. So to the layperson, you should see it as community engagement from the City of Bayswater.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a few questions. The first one, the first two is again with regards to what we heard from the deputy. The first one is with regards to alignment with our plans. So how did we, or whether we aligned any of the proposed road treatments to our existing approved plans, the bike plan, the safe routes to school, etc.
I have to take that question on notice and do a bit of research and come back to you.
Thank you. That will be useful. The other question, and again, it was raised at the deputation. I don't think the deputy mentioned a specific street, but she said that some of the treatments will affect pedestrians or some users because of the curve. It will not, I wasn't sure, it was not aligned to the curve or something like that.
Yep, through the chair, I can answer this one. It's to do with the actual design of these speed plateaus. So what it is that speed plateaus, that they're built right up adjacent to the curb line, but not right up onto the curb line. And the reason for that is to allow for drainage to continue flow through onto the side of the roads. Saying that, if any treatments are going to be, say, for example, in front of a particular pedestrian pram ramp or things like that, we would design it to make sure that pedestrian would still have full access for them to and able to cross the road. So the design itself, and it goes into the detailed design of each particular treatment, we would make that adjustment to make sure that pedestrians would still be able to traverse through those kind of treatments if they need to.
Okay, thank you. My other question is with regards to Shen Park. So the table on page 42 states that 35% were against and 50% for, and I think that's the highest number or percentages against in any of the precincts that we see in both item 10.3.1 and 10.3.2. So my question, what was the opposition there? Do we know? Because the attachment doesn't elaborate on the specific road treatments.
Through the chair, I'll have to refer this one to John Vines, the Manager of Project Services.
Again, haven't got that specific level of detail to hand, but we can take that on notice and get that information back to you in relation to Shen Park.
Thank you. And just specifically, if I'm looking at the attachment, I can see that some of the treatments received very high percentage of people that were opposing it, like sites 27, 44%, and 49% supported it. So I'd be interested to understand those high numbers, those above 40% or 39%, to understand what were the concerns. Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No, thank you. Any questions with regards to the next item 10.3.2? And Councillor Clark is still out. Any questions? No. No, thank you. Can we call Councillor Clark back? Thank you. We are moving to item 10.4.1, petition for Battersea Reserve Morley to be reclassified as a dog exercise area and playground to be enclosed. Any questions, councillors? Yes, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Just trying to sort of tease out some of the comments made by the deputy and what's written in our report. So I think they originally asked for the playground to be fenced, but what would be the difference? And what's the current rules about in off-leash paths and playgrounds? What's the current rules and distances? I know we have them, I just don't know what they are.
Thank you. I will go to the director, please.
Thank you for the question. I won't profess to recall that top of mind, so I'll take that on notice and provide that to you. But my understanding is that there does not need to be a perimeter fence necessarily around the playground to facilitate off-lead. Our understanding in terms of the intention of the petition from discussions with the lead petitioners was that they would like to consider an off-lead dog area and also a fence around the playground, and they're not intrinsically aligned. So they would be happy to have the fence in isolation, and they would be happy to have the off-lead dog area in isolation as well.
Yeah, follow up.
Thank you. I'm just sort of, probably just seeking some more information about how it could be made to work for everyone, really, and I probably would be seeking an alternate recommendation.
Sure. Just to clarify, would you like us to take it offline to discuss an alternative with you? Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Clark. Sorry. Councillor Clark.
What was my question? I'm just sorry. Councillor Eveson was probably just before me. Sorry, Councillor Eveson. I had a question about fenced playgrounds and how many we have in the city. I can think of 2 or 3 off the top of my head, but I've never actually done a full question on that.
Yep.
Thank you. Thankfully, we have the Manager of Recreation Services here who may be able to answer that.
This one's working now. Again, from memory, Robert Thompson Reserve, Riverside Gardens, are the main two off the top of my head that I can think of out of about, as you say, 116 play spaces across the city.
And we will have soon, I think in Charles Street, that we are waiting to be fenced, a council resolution.
That was a result of a councillor motion, yes, so pending an additional one at
The
Charles
second
Street,
one,
correct?
yeah. Thank you.
And can I just ask a follow-up question, just more broadly in terms of fenced playgrounds? Is there any sort of guidance or standards that councils are meant to follow about how many they have? And I never thought they were quite so important until I got a toddler that was about to run out onto out of a playground.
Manager.
There's some guiding principles within the play space strategy that informs the types and nature of infrastructure that could or should be provided around those play spaces. Depends on the intensity of use, proximity of hazards, status of the park or reserve, whether it's regional or district, etc.
I just sorry, Councillor Leveson,
Yeah,
I'm
you-
sorry I skipped you before. Yes, how about?
I'm sure we'll all get
Yes.
there. Look, so just interested, because the deputy obviously mentioned that he'd lived in the area since the park was built. So I was just interested if there's any records of any dog issues at that park before when it was off lead, as opposed to when the change was made. I'm happy to take it on notice. I'm sure no one's going to recall.
Thank you. I'll take that on notice and provide that detail to council.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Maleka.
Battersea Reserve has just finished consultation for the play space redevelopment program. So I'm wondering if, let's say this is passed next week, it's approved. Obviously, whatever's come through with the play space redevelopment program is probably going to be defunct, because what they were commenting on then is probably going to be very different then to what ends up happening if this passes. So I'm just starting to think, should we perhaps, what happens in the mix with all of that? Because the consultation finished last week, I believe.
Yes, can we get some advice?
Thank you. I believe the consultation concluded on the 4th of March 2024, and the Manager Recreation Services team is reviewing that consultation. And will there be a report back, or is that something that's consideration?
The outcomes will be fed back through the Engage Bayswater webpage with an engagement outcome report. But I guess if any decision of council supersedes that, then obviously we'll go with the direction of council in relation to what's determined for that site.
Any other questions, councillors? I have two questions. So I'm just bringing it up. So from what I understand, the officer's recommendation is to not necessarily make a decision about those two requests now, and to consider them at those two opportunities. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct. So we had been liaising with the lead petitioners and advised we would consider the petition as part of both the consultation for the local play space element, which Recreation Services is dealing with, and also consideration of the amended local law that will take place in 2024, this year.
Thank you. So a different question. So it was mentioned that it used to be an on-lead dog park. Do we know the reason why we changed it to off-lead?
Thank you.
Oh, the opposite. The opposite,
Yes.
it was, yes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm not aware of the history as to the reasons why, but we can certainly find the council report and provide
Yeah.
that to council.
Thank you, the rationale. Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No. Thank you. We will move to the next item.
Sorry,
Councillor
just to
Johnson.
clarify, when are we undertaking the review? It says 2024, but can we be more specific? To the dog areas, sorry.
Yes, Manager.
Through the Chair, the intention is to commence the review shortly. It needs to start in 2024, so we were going to be looking at the community engagement around a draft amendment local law shortly.
Thank you.
Okay. No other questions? We will move to item 10.4.3, propose 8 multiple dwellings in Morley. Any questions, councillors? No questions?
Hi.
Okay. Sorry?
Thank
Councillor
you.
Johnson?
Yeah, so I heard some conflicting information. Well, it sounded a bit confusing. So I wonder if I can get some clarity, please, on the overshadowing. I heard one of the deputies say it would be similar to what was existing, and I saw some dissent from some of the other folks in the gallery. Just wonder if we could get some clarity, please, on that.
Yeah, who is answering? Manager. Thank you.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. On page 444, you'll notice on the top right is the overshadowing diagram for the building as it will be constructed, and to the and then the one directly below it is the shadow from the dividing fence. So of itself, the dividing fence does overshadow, but the new development will overshadow it more.
And just to add to that, sorry, in terms of the overshadowing, in terms of it being shadowed further, it principally will fall on the roof of the existing dwelling. So the dividing fence casts a shadow within the outdoor living areas that sit along the southern boundary currently. And when the building is constructed, that shadow will extend further, but will principally fall within the roof space. As you can see on page 444, with respect to the 1 June, 1 July and 1 August shadows.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions? Councillor Maleka.
Thank you. Since the development proposal was first published to the current form that it is now, would you be able to outline what the differences are since the consultation has ended? So what has been modified since the first proposal to what it is now?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. A lot of the significant part of the changes were made prior to lodgement of the development application. So the application went through a process of a preliminary lodgement with the design review panel. They took on board some a broad range of modifications which would improve the development and would also address concerns relating to overshadowing, the way in which the building was sited. So as a result of that design review panel, they actually flipped the design from the northern boundary to the southern boundary. So that's resulted in some significant setback increases from the on the southern boundary. So do you want me to go through those in detail, Councillor Maleka?
Not so much in
generally?
detail, just some general differences from what was first seen to what we see now.
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor. There's been changes in the ground and upper floor setbacks to increase the setbacks to the southern boundary, which is the to those properties which are the most affected by the proposal. There's been an increase in car parking bays of 1 bay, which is an additional visitor bay. The height of the building has been reduced, and the overshadowing calculation has been clarified. Initially, we were looking at a significant overshadowing, and then it was realised that the actual calculation was incorrect. So that's somewhat improved the overall assessment of the development. There's also quite improved deep soil landscaping areas on the site. So it was essentially 8 square metres, that's gone up to 11 square metres. What did I say? Oh, beg your pardon, 8%. And then also we've got some communal open space across the site, which has improved the siting and separation of the buildings and allowed for greater landscaping opportunities. The development has also reduced its floor levels so that the impact of its scale and bulk and overshadowing has been reduced.
Yes, Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Any other? Yes, Councillor Johnson.
Sorry, yeah, one more on this. When I have a look at the site on the Bayswater maps, I can see a street tree at the front. When I have a look at the picture in the documentation provided, I can see a dead street tree. Could I have an update, please, on the status of the street tree and any requirements to replace or remediate the dead tree, please?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, that is identified in the agenda report, and we have noted that a further street tree has been planted on the site, but there isn't additional room for a further street tree.
Okay, so, and my apologies, I missed it. Can I just ask a question about the format of the report? I'm used to reports, obviously they only come to us when they have variations. So I'm used to seeing reports where they list a table of variations, and I'm not seeing that in this report. Have I missed that? Or has something changed in the reporting?
Yeah, I was also looking for that.
Thank you. That will be myself. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the list of variations, if you wish to call it that, which is no longer the terminology to be used in terms of planning, but those seeking consideration under the element objectives are those matters on page 427, street setbacks, side and rear setbacks, orientation, visual privacy, size and layout of dwellings, and natural ventilation. We can provide you a table detailing all the other elements within Volume 2 of the R codes that are consistent with the acceptable outcomes. However, when an application is considered against Volume 2 of the R codes, it's an assessment either against the acceptable outcomes or the element objectives. It's not necessarily one seeking a variation against one and therefore having to be considered against the other. It's up to a person to choose which pathway. And we decided those that aren't going down the acceptable outcomes pathway, which is the pathway traditionally known as you're deemed to comply, are seeking element objectives, and they're the ones listed in your report, seeking consideration under those objectives. Does that make sense?
Thank you for the clarification on the language under the planning framework. Is that also, I mean, I guess, would that still be reason for it to come to council, or is it the number of objections?
Thank you. Through the Deputy Mayor, it's the number of objections that has triggered this to come to council.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. So we will move to the last item that was subject to deputations, item 11.1, potential land acquisition for parking in Maylands. Any questions, Councillor? Yes. I will just check first, Councillor, if we have questions. And I do note that we have confidential attachment. No questions, councillors? No, so you can stay in the room. And we will now move to the other items on the agenda. And perhaps I will see which items councillors want to ask questions on, and then we'll do them one by one. So any items that council want to ask questions on? From the whole agenda. You're checking, okay? You can take the time. Council, yes, Johnson.
So probably, I haven't got the number, but the mid-year budget review, I think it's 10.2.1.4 possibly.
So 10.2.4, yeah, that's one. Which others? Anything else, Councillor?
I don't think so.
Councillor Clark?
Just 10.5.1.6, Project Eden update, please.
Yes. Anything else, Councillor Leder?
10.2.4 as well, the mid-year budget review. And
okay.
10. Oh, sorry, there's one more. I'll come back.
Okay. Anything else, councillors? Okay, so we look. If you remember, we can still add. How about we will start with item 10.2.4, the 2023-2024 statutory mid-year budget review. Yes, Councillor Clark.
In which case, I'll leave the room. Just
yes, you do have a conflict of interest.
Underground power.
Yes,
is probably difficult to pull out of that in any way, shape, or form. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll wait.
My other question was going to be for 10.4.2.
10.4.2.
proposed change of day for citizenship
Okay,
ceremony.
we will go to
Thanks.
this. Okay. Councillor Johnson, you have questions about the midi budget review?
Yes, I suppose I'd like to know in summary what new items are proposed in here and what are just adjustments for, like, how can I easily see what are just adjustments for what, ups and downs that we've seen over the year, and what are new in this item? What are we proposing to do anything new or different, I suppose?
Director of Corporate Services. Yeah.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. There are a lot of unders and overs in the mid-year budget review, but some of the new items relate to a council resolution last week for the soccer club. There was also one project in there which was meant to be picked up as a carry forward when we prepared the 23-24 budget, but that was missed. Some of the other things is where we've received some additional grant funding, so therefore we've increased budgets associated with those projects. They're the main standouts.
Councillor Leder.
Thank you. Just wondering, in the mid-year budget review, if consideration has been given to the council resolution from August 2023 about brickworks. I do have the relevant thing here if it would help for me to read out.
The acting CEO, yes.
Yeah, through the chair. If you look on...
you bring it forward then.
Sorry, can you hear me now? If you look at page 332, the Maylands Brickworks rectification is listed there. There is a partial carry forward that's been earmarked because the works, in terms of getting that work done, it's commencing, but it's looking like we won't get it completed by the end of the financial year, and some of that money will need to be carried over into the next financial year.
Just a follow up from that, because the council resolution said that I believe it was for any additional funds from that mid-year budget review were to be considered for allocation to Maylands Brickworks.
Yeah, through the chair, it is included in there.
So would that be the remaining funds?
That's correct. What you see in there is 250,000 is what the council resolution asked for, and basically what we're earmarking is about 75,000 that will potentially be carried over into the next financial year to complete the project.
So I think that the 250,000 was the amount allocated in that resolution, but there was also an additional limb in that resolution to allocate additional funds in the mid-year budget review for annual maintenance.
Do you want to take it on notice?
Yeah, we'll take that on notice and provide a response before the council meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Any other questions, councillors, on this item? No. Thank you. We will call Councillor Clark back. We will continue to item 10.4.2, proposed change of day for annual Australia Day Citizenship Ceremony and Awards. Councillor Leder, you had some questions?
Yes. I'm just wondering about the dates for engagement around that proposal and why the decision was made to do it at the time that it was done in the middle of the referendum campaign, which was pretty polarising.
Director.
Thank you. My understanding is the consultation was undertaken as per a council resolution. If you like, I can provide that council resolution to you.
Any other questions? No. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah, probably also take the opportunity to ask a question on this one. Just wondering why, no, probably I shouldn't say why. Just wondering to what extent the Advice from Reconciliation Advisory Committee was weighted when preparing this report.
Thank you. So the Reconciliation Advisory Committee doesn't have delegation to deal with such matters as the matter relates to council as opposed to the remit of the committee. However, comments were received from the committee and were considered as part of the preparation of this report. And I'll also note that we did have representation through the survey results from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and their views are reflected within the report as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand the difficulties with the delegated legislation. It's just always difficult that we assume this is an advisory committee. And yeah, I mean, I heard the comments from the members there, so I don't know quite. I will consider them also in the way that I consider this item.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a question. So we went to community consultation with the option of changing the date up to 3 days after Australia Day. Is this correct?
My understanding is yes, that's what the council resolution stated. However, the Home Affairs advice is that, in accordance with their regulations, is that it could be 3 days prior
Before.
or 3 days after.
But I recall that I think the report also mentions that we consulted about the option to postpone it up to 3 days because that came from the Reconciliation Advisory Committee. Can we understand or remind us why they suggested up to 3 days and not 3 days before? Why it was just the option to look into 3 days after Australia Day and not before?
Sure, I'll double check that and provide that information as I'm providing some additional information to council at the end of the week regarding this. But if it was just in relation to the 3 days after Australia Day, my assumption would be it's aligned with the council resolution, but I'll confirm that as part of a memo later this week.
Yeah, I don't think it was actually.
Okay.
I think it came from them. But yes, we'll wait for that. Thank you. Any other questions on this item? No. Thank you. We will move to item 10.5.1.6, Project Eden Update, March 2024. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just broadly, I wondered if there's a lot of acronyms in the PowerPoint slide, and I wonder if perhaps we could have a version of that, particularly for the public and particularly for non-IT people like me, as to what it is we're actually spending all this money on and how it's going and where we're up to.
Director.
Through the Deputy Mayor, yes, we can. Would the councillor like me to give that overview now or for future reporting?
Look, I'm happy for that to be in the future. I'm conscious I've put you on the spot, and there might be some translation required between the IT boffins and the lay people using the internet and the software behind it. So happy for that to be however it comes in the future as an update.
Okay. Any other questions on this item? No. That was the last item that councillors indicated that they wish to ask questions on. Any other last-minute items before we conclude the meeting? Yes, Councillor Sutherland.
Not any of the items, but I didn't hear you talk about application for leave of absence. So I just wanted to put some leave of absence.
I don't think that.
All right,
yeah.
don't worry about it. I'll just write it to. Yeah.
Do you want to go to the manager?
Yeah.
Manager, can we apply for leave during agenda briefing forms?
No, unfortunately, leave of absence needs to be applied for at council meetings.
I'll email it.
Okay. Any other items? No. Thank you, councillors. I will close the agenda briefing form at 8:40 p.m. Thank you, and I think we have a briefing afterwards, so don't go away. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, to those who stayed with us.